Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of New to Weeaboo. This is number 99 for June 14th, 2023. I am Nemesis, and I am joined by Alcatraz here.
Hello.
Yeah, let's see. A couple things. Of course, keeping up with some of the current anime that I was already watching. You have been too.
Somewhat, yeah.
So a lot of stuff going on there. Some of it very on the edge of my seat for. Let's see. Watch Rise of the Beast, the new Transformers movies. I liked it a lot, but also can recognize it's got some flaws.
It's important to recognize flaws in your favorite
It's
media.
a very weirdly divisive movie.
Which isn't too unusual
Well,
for the
it's
later
divisive
movies.
in weird ways. Some fans don't like it because they find it boring. Some people don't like it because it's not enough like the Bayverse. There's a contingent of Bayverse fans in the fandom who are
There's
upset. Some people don't like it because it's not Beast Wars enough. Because it's got the whole, the Beast Wars guys on there.
You know, if you know anything about the Transformers fandom, it shouldn't be surprising that you're never going to please them.
But outside of the fandom too, actually, there's someone who actually said it's as bad as The Last Night. It's like, there's no, you're crazy. Last Night is a dumpster fire. But the thing is, when it comes to like the critics, like, you see the number of reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, whatever, who cares? But you're looking at the actual text of the reviews, and you're like, you get this undercurrent. They're upset it's not Bumblebee 2. Essentially, there's this weird undercurrent of that. So it's like, huh. I'm going to say that's how I watched that. Finally got back into VR after apparently almost 2 years.
Finally.
I had a lot of stuff I had to clear out first before I felt comfortable jumping into VR again. But I did it. I had a fun time. But yeah. We're not here to talk about that stuff.
No, we aren't.
Yeah, but there's some anime news though I almost forgot about. Another trailer for Getjutsu no Yohane. Another trailer for that. Very excited. They also apparently put up for pre-orders the OP and ED CDs. I was like, should I get those?
You're going to get them.
Well, the problem is it's $10 for CD, but then it's going to be like $20 for shipping.
Oh.
And it's a single, so it's like even a worse value proposition.
Yeah, but you want it.
Yeah, I'll probably combine the shipping and I'll figure it out. Well, there's weird. I saw a picture of it was a Bandai Namco celebrating a bunch of stuff, and so you see a whole bunch of Bandai Namco properties. So you get Yohane, Ayumu, and then Kokono from World Dai-Star and Suletta Mercury, and it's like all in one thing. And someone who found out, which is funny, just because it's Ayumu talking to Suletta. Do you want to be a school idol?
That's one I need to start watching.
You will be.
Is Gundam.
You will be.
The new Gundam.
You will be. Don't worry about it. Oh, and one other thing. Apparently, it leaked out that Yuru Yuri might actually be getting a 4th season. So that's a thing to definitely look forward to. That's for sure. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, we're here to talk about Flip Flappers. We mentioned it last week, but yeah, Flip Flappers, an anime from 2016 now, late 2016, so it's semi-recent,
somewhat recent.
7 years, almost 7 years old.
Because the time period from 2017 to 2020 just doesn't exist. It's just a weird time period that anyway just kind of stopped.
So Flip Flappers was, it's technically a magical girl anime, although it's kind of different from a lot of them. For one, it's not, at this point, it's not dreary and depressing. That's a thing now for most of them. But yeah, it's about a girl named Kokona, who's just an ordinary girl, and then she meets a girl named Paprika, and her life gets turned upside down.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's guided into an organization called Flip Flap, and they go into a world. They wind up with the whole thing is they go into this world called Pure Illusion. They find these stones, and they're using them for something. Supposedly, they grant a wish.
Yep.
But yeah, they just need to collect these stones, and then it turns out there's another organization also doing this stuff, and they kind of wind up fighting them, and they go through all these different bizarre worlds doing all this stuff, and then weird things happen.
Weird things happen is, yeah. I guess that's accurate.
That's a summary. Just so before we get into the nitty gritty of it all, first things first, I will say this: it is a worth watching because, or at least for the very least, because of the visual spectacle of it. Because it looks gorgeous. They experiment a lot with just general art styles and animation and whatnot throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful. So that on itself, because I will be honest, also it does get a weirdly messy, particularly again towards the end. It gets really messy and kind of and just confusing sometimes, and it could be a little hard to parse through what the heck's going on.
Yeah.
So it is messy.
The story is a mess.
Particularly towards the end. It actually starts off very solid. It starts out solid and then goes, what?
Yeah, once it actually tries to tie everything together and wrap it up and explain things, it just kind of, yeah.
What? Okay, this got weird.
Yeah.
And not in a fun way. But yeah, so it's still worth watching though. It's only 13 episodes long, so it won't take you, it's a single season, not very long. But on just on the merit of visual spectacle, it's worth checking out. Yep. There's more to it than that.
There's more to it than that, but yeah, the visual spectacle alone does make it worth.
So yeah, check that out for sure, at least for that. But anyway, getting into the details. So the thing is that Coconut there is kind of living a very boring, dreary life. That's kind of her thing. She's just in a rut of her life is just a boring nothing.
She just does what she's supposed to. Gets up, goes to school, does her thing, and then just repeats and doesn't do anything else.
If I recall, there's even a subtle color palette thing of her. The color palette is a bit more muted until she meets Paprika.
I think so. I think that's
slightly more muted. Not, it's not like it's,
not night and day, but. Yeah.
And that's also, that's her thing, is that she's kind of just going, it's kind of having that, teenage, I don't know, my life just kind of is there.
Yeah.
I'm just existing.
Mm-hmm.
Paprika shows up, Paprika and her red hair and everything just shows up and just kind of just is weird, excitable, and sometimes incoherent to Coconut.
Very flighty.
At first, Coconut just doesn't necessarily, it's kind of get away, you're weird, and then but can't help but get drawn in anyway, and next thing you know, oh no, are we best friends now? Yes.
They were roommates.
Yeah, also they get magical transformation, which all the trappings, unfortunately, including all the, kind of Barbie doll nudity.
Yeah, that's a weird trope in magical girl transformations where it has the Barbie doll nudity during transformation sequence. I don't understand.
Someone could probably explain it, but yeah. That's the thing. And yeah, the whole organization of Flip Flap is a bunch of weirdos in there.
They're all weird.
Yeah, but those particular... You got Dr. Salt, who just kind of sits in the corner or in the back, just almostly silent. And then you got Hidaka, who's very shouts a lot, very excitable. Doesn't sleep a lot either.
Computer person, yeah.
And Sayuri, who's a bit more calm, but still a little eccentric. May have a bit of a crush on Salt there from what I saw.
Might.
Then you got the robot, TT392, but Buchan. He's a bit grabby.
He's a bit handsy. Just a little.
Just a bit, which is weird because he's a wheeled robot box. He's a box and wheels, and of course you open up the box, there's a brain inside, so it's like...
Yeah.
There's a question, that's the one that never answers. Whose brain is this?
Whose brain is that?
And
shh, you don't need to know.
You don't need to know, that's not matter.
Yeah.
But Coconut also has a best friend already called, her name is Yayaka.
Yayaka.
She's a bit more... standoffish, particularly towards Paprika for some reason.
Yeah,
she doesn't seem to like Paprika. Oh, and then she shows up in pure illusion as well and keeps telling Coconut to stay away.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on there? Yeah. So, characters. That's the thing. The characters themselves are wildly different, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, they actually have unique personalities and goals and things like that.
And whatnot. The thing is about it is we don't also see everything. We there's a lot of stuff they don't really bother to explain, and it's kind of like we talked about with Refuse Starlight, was it was like you don't care, it doesn't matter. But here it kind of because of how far it goes, it's kind of in that weird sense. Some of it does matter. You need to explain some of this.
Yeah,
not everything, but some of this is a little. And when your explanations require more explanation.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing with Review Starlight, there's like, we're not going to explain anything. Just enjoy the ride. This, we're going to explain some stuff, but that's just going to lead to more confusion.
Right. There's also this has a tendency to introduce some plot lines that just kind of don't
go anywhere. Yeah, there's a lot. It feels like there's a lot cut. Was this supposed to be like double the length and then,
Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like. Is there was supposed to be more, and you feel it. The things that are just cut, the entire characters that are played up as introduced as being important, and then just aren't.
Yeah.
What, like Nunu? Yeah. Was that the third child, I believe, as they also called her?
Yeah, that was her. She just kind of was a dead end. Just what was the purpose of her? Nothing. Okay,
Absolutely
then why is she here?
Nothing.
Why is she here? Because shut up.
Other than just the tiniest little plot motivator for Yayaka, but not enough to be important. But it's just there's weird little bits about that. Not enough to really drag it all the way down, but definitely enough that you need a note about it.
Yeah, it's either you don't explain anything, or you need to explain some of this better. You need to do something. You need to make a decision, because as it is, the way you explain stuff doesn't work super well.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing. The other organization, Asclepius, is like they're trying to resurrect something. They're trying to do stuff with.
It's not very well explained, because I think what their original goal was and what they ended up trying to get to are, I think, different.
They're trying to use pure illusion to control the world, essentially.
Yeah.
They basically, whoever controls pure illusion controls.
Yeah, that's sort of what they're doing. Yeah, because they're trying to like mix pure illusion and the real world into one or something like that.
They think basically their whole thing is whoever controls pure illusion controls the world, because they have an effect on each other. So they're trying to control pure illusion. Basically, the illusion must flow.
Yeah, and then they got kind of obsessed with the particular person who does all of that.
Because she can control pure illusion.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah.
That's also not explained.
Not explained.
Yeah,
that's one of those that you don't have to explain.
Yeah.
But they should have done a little bit better on everything else surrounding it.
One other thing is, it turns out, the other thing is like, Coconut lives with her grandmother because her parents died because of mysterious things or whatever. That's the whole thing, right? Her parents are gone. So anyway, so she's with her grandmother. She also has an upperclassman she looks up to, Iraha, painter, all that stuff. One thing about the pure illusion is it's just kind of seems to be largely, the first time they go into it, it's just like, oh, we're here now. And just,
in the woods.
Yeah, and then turns out the frozen trees are actually monsters.
Right.
That are then going into the water, and eventually they find that's the whole thing, which at first Coconut is really like, what is this?
Which makes sense.
At first, and also she starts to enjoy herself, but then she goes, no, I didn't enjoy myself, shut up. Stay away from me, you're weird.
Yep.
That's the thing. That's Coconut's struggle with who she is.
Which is sort of the entire
that's the central point.
Yeah.
That's the central point of Coconut is struggling with who she is. She is at the age, she's in middle school, of trying to figure out, who am I? And also she has an additional thing of, at first, kind of who I am isn't who I want to be.
Right.
Because it's weird.
Yep. When you grow up with an expectation of what you're supposed to be, and then you start getting that.
Deviating.
When you start actually exploring and finding that there's something not quite right there.
You have more in common with this weirdo than you like.
Yeah.
And you're kind of scared now. And that's kind of her whole thing, is her discovering herself in several ways. Because once Paprika shows up, her world brightens up, like almost literally. And like, she is more willing to confront those parts of herself that she was kind of burying deep.
Mm-hmm.
And that part of it, I would say, is relayed better. Parts of that are relayed better than other parts.
Right.
Some of it also comes down to you, the viewer. If you have certain knowledge, you're going to kind of figure out stuff much easier than other people who are going to be completely lost.
There's also cultural references too, so you have to understand those to understand what they're trying to say. So that can be lost on some people who just don't have the cultural references to base off of. But yeah, there's a lot of those. You won't get it unless you yourself have gone through this.
Oh yeah, she also has a rabbit, which has a
rabbit. Put some heavy air quotes over that.
Yeah, who's that? Yeah, it's his name.
I'm not even gonna try. It has an umlaut in it.
Yeah, Uxkl.
UEXK.
I can tell you the kind pronunciation. Yukusukuru.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nightmarish. It's German. It's a German scientist.
Possibly, yeah.
Named after the German scientist.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wind up often confronting several members of the
other team.
Asclepius.
Yeah.
Yayaka turns out to be one of them. And then you got Toto and Yuyu, who are backups, who are twins and very emotionless at times. For most of it, actually. And those are the ones who are like all business. We gotta do our jobs. And Yayaka's turns out to be kind of the weak link, so to speak. Because Yayaka's actually concerned about Kokona's health and safety. Because we get to the reveal, Yayaka was actually a plant. Because she was sent there to become Kokona's friend, because we find out who Kokona actually is, and yeah.
Yeah. I think Toto and Yuyu, it's implied that they're possibly not normal humans.
Yeah, it's heavily implied too.
Because I think they're the first and second children. It's like they're born of the amorphous, which, by the way, is what they call the shards that they're trying to collect out of pure illusion. It's things called amorphous. And they seem to be like born out of that world, sort of, and they're connected to it, because you have to be somehow connected to it in order to actually get into pure illusion. So either possession of an amorphous, or they don't explain that very well.
For a cult, they actually were saying at one point Yayaka was their connection, and then they replaced her with Nunu.
Right. That's what it was, because Yayaka, because it was this thing where you can get in, you get placed with an amorphous, and you can use that to get into pure illusion, but not everyone can, and if you can't, it goes really bad.
Yeah.
But Yayaka is able to work with it, so she's their connection.
Kokona and Paprika have their whole magical thing. They can use the power of pure illusion and transform and whatnot. And they use that to fight and whatnot through the various worlds. And also the various worlds themselves also sometimes take on a little bit of the some anime tropes, like we had the post-apocalypse world, including very Mad Max-esque characters and stuff. And turns out Kokona was their leader because of reasons. Like basically, her helmet slammed on her head and made her basically her
mind
super
control,
deep desires kind of come out.
Yeah,
including she's really upset with Paprika, I guess.
Yeah.
Then you have the Class S Yuri world.
Oh boy, that one.
With the creepy girls.
Yeah, that one.
And so on and so forth. They have various things. And also we find out parts of pure illusion are actually connected to real people.
Yes, sort of like
they find a door in there, and they're like, yeah, don't go in there. And they go in there.
Go in there. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, it turns out the effects Iraha. They actually more or less wind up in Iraha's mind of sorts.
Yeah. Like a sort of psychonaut
and they
thing.
accidentally also alter her personality a bit, and then Kokona freaks out because I broke her.
Yep.
Understandable, freak out over that. Because the whole thing, it's a weird thing because they're both Iraha. Kokona and Paprika go in there and they're both Iraha, but they keep swapping out because it turns out Iraha's childhood was horrible.
Yep.
She had parents who didn't really care about her.
Yep, and lived with her grandmother who...
No, she didn't live with her grandmother. She visited an old lady in her neighborhood.
Right,
one of those things.
Visit her.
And she had a good time with that. And the problem was, eventually, the old lady, we don't know the exact, but it's something like Alzheimer's or something. She's like, who are you?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, she had that horrible... And then there was a thing where she made a promise to her that she'd, reintroduce herself if that happened, because the old lady knew what was happening. Yep. She knew that this was going to happen, and she didn't do that. She just kind of... She freaked out and ran, which she's a kid. It's understandable. It scared her. But so they changed that, and they made it so she somehow... It's almost implied they actually did change the past, possibly?
Or changed her memory of it.
Anyway, so suddenly she's a very different person, and so she was a painter, now she's burning all her paintings.
Yeah.
Whatever, just gotta make some room. Doing stuff. It's interesting, because also she's talking about, she had this nail polish because she would use it for a painting, but she would never paint her nails because she wasn't worthy of it.
Yep, because that was something that she did with the old lady.
Come back, and she's painting her nails now.
Yep.
Like, oh no.
The way I interpret it is that they didn't change the real world. They changed her memory and basically, I guess, fixed her trauma, except it was her trauma that led her to becoming the artist she was. So now they fixed that. She's no longer interested anymore. And dealing with the consequences of that. Yeah,
which they never actually fixed. They never explored that any further after that. Kind of like, that was just a kind of a dangling plot line.
Yeah, they kind of like brought it up a few more times for Coconuts' resistance to do other things, and then she got over that and never brought it up again.
Yeah, and then of course, yeah, we find it towards the end. It's like Paprika starts talking about Mimi.
Yep.
Who's Mimi? And Coconuts freaking out because like Paprika accidentally called Coconut Mimi.
Yep.
Who's Mimi? And then she's my partner. I thought I was your. Yeah, there's a whole jealousy thing going on there.
Yep.
And then turns out Mimi is actually Coconut's mother.
Yep.
And there's a whole thing there. And Salt is actually Coconut's dad. And we get this whole basically a huge flashback about this, which is Salt worked at this facility, mostly in initially as a training, kind of a training capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And Paprika was part of some sort of selection of kids who were supposed to befriend Mimi. And Mimi could just go into pure illusion at will without any sort of help.
Yep.
Was the whole thing. And then they implied something happened to a lot of the people who they sent to befriend her, but didn't happen to Paprika for whatever reason. Paprika and Mimi befriend each other, and Paprika is able to get Mimi outside because Mimi has always been in one room for as long as she can remember.
Because the facility's treating her more as a test subject than a human.
Yeah. That's a whole fun thing.
Yep.
And then we got Salt is there mostly because his dad was running the place, and then Salt befriends her too, and mostly because Paprika accidentally fell into Salt's room.
Yep.
But they befriend each other, and then it turns out, I guess, Salt and Mimi kind of hit it off in a way that, because Mimi got pregnant.
Yep.
And also, Salt's dad tried to go into pure illusion and lost his mind.
Yeah, he went crazy.
Yeah, he lost his mind. They don't say it outright, but it's pretty clear he's the played cultist guy for
the other
Asclepius.
Yeah.
It's pretty clear. They don't tell you that. Really, but it's one of those, because you never see his face, but it's like you have to listen to the voice and go, oh, it's the same guy.
Yeah, and then they start kind of hinting at it later on, and they never explicitly say it, but it's pretty obvious. That's what they're.
But Mimi eventually escapes with Paprika, and has Coconut, but then they're recaptured, and then they try to escape again, and then this time it doesn't work because the new stuff to stop that, and then Mimi goes crazy.
Yeah, she just loses it,
and then this is the whole thing, and then Coconut's left with someone else, and there you go.
Yep.
And turns out, also Coconut's grandma was in on it because
well, her grandma wasn't even real. It was like a
was
robot.
Because that's the whole thing. My grandma was in the wheelchair, and then hey, there she is standing.
Yeah.
And then the grandma gets killed because Mimi comes back somehow.
Because apparently was in pure illusion the entire time. Coconut.
She's like in pure illusion and also partially in Coconut or something.
Yeah.
Then she comes back and she wrecks the place. She possesses Coconut, and then does this whole thing. Mommy knows best.
Yep, mommy knows best.
Don't worry about it. That's the whole thing. She's doing the whole overprotective parent thing and won't let anyone get near them because they will corrupt her and.
Yeah, but then there's the whole thing like that part of Mimi's not the real Mimi, and then the two Mimis are fighting internally for them over control, and that's where that's the end near the end of the series where things start getting weird.
Oh yeah, that's the whole thing. Paprika was Mimi's age, and then she wasn't, so then she becomes Coconut's age somehow.
Never explained.
It's the only thing is the power of pure illusion. That's it. Somehow it just goes from. Yeah, it's an odd thing. It's a very much feels like it was a very weird, just kind of we gotta resolve this somehow because we kind of wrote ourselves into a corner.
Yeah,
that's one of the messy because there's a whole thing because one of the big undercurrents, like we said, was Coconut's growth as a teenager and whatnot. It was one of the things we did not touch on yet was the part of her which is her sexual orientation.
Yes.
That is believe it or not, actually a huge part of this, which is part of the reason we're talking about in June. Shock.
There's like a whole section of an episode that literally is Coconut dealing with that.
Yeah,
and all the different versions of Paprika that show up.
Yeah, there's that part, but there's also like little hints throughout the show that there's some Coconut's dealing with this stuff, and she doesn't want it. Basically, Coconut's dealing with the fact she's attracted to Paprika, and that scares her.
Yep.
And she's trying to suppress it as hard as she can. And that's a huge chunk of it, is she is attracted to Paprika, and that scares the crap out of her. So there are things throughout the anime. There's one episode which kind of more or less starts to spell it out for you in case you haven't figured it out yet. And then towards the end, there's the whole, the Paprika and Coconut, basically the I love you thing. So that's the whole thing right there, and then that's part of the reason why that whole thing is weird, because like Paprika is older than Coconut, but then she's not. But she is. She's not.
She is. Yeah, they had to age regressors to make it not creepy. But I'm not certain how well that
because
worked.
I'm just thinking of that bit where people like to mock the Twilight books because the werewolf guy falls in love with the baby at first sight when she's born. It's like what? So that's I'm just thinking of that because like Paprika says she already loves Coconut, and it's like but it's like it doesn't get weird about it because like
it doesn't. It's
not the thing like Paprika was there raising Coconut or anything, because that would be grooming weirdness.
That would be.
She just disappears from her life for most of it, and then she pops up again as she's a teenager.
Yep.
So it's not creepy, at least, but it's still weird.
It's weird, but not creepy.
Yeah, one of the big giveaways is the Class, like I said, the Class S Yuri episode where they wound up in that part of pure illusion, where it's like, it's Class S Yuri.
It's Class S Yuri.
They do go through a lot of the tropes, including them sleeping on the same bed, holding hands and everything while asleep, and just, there's a lot there. It's just like, there's kind of a lot that hits a lot of the Class S tropes, but on kind of hyper speed.
Yeah. And
they get kind of lost in it, too. They kind of just forget why they were even there until they get reminded and they snap out of it.
Yeah, Yaya Kush shows up with the team to help them snap out of it.
Yeah, apparently something to do with the episode that they kind of turned into rabbit people was a thing too, where they kind of like, and also the actual rabbit turned into a guy, a rabbit man.
Yeah, that was like the first one where they went to a world that like represented someone else. It was sort of through the looking glass. As they went down the hole, a slight reference.
Yeah, apparently the whole thing, like that, particularly with them not being able to help themselves when it comes to biting stuff, was supposed to be representative of something. But yeah, there's a whole thing where somehow we got kind of into Coconuts' own psyche in Pure Illusion, and it's her meeting a whole bunch of versions of Paprika, including versions of there was a kind of mischievous boy, or the kind of a handsome boy, or the really hypersexual girl version of her. All these different facets of Paprika, or perceived versions of Paprika, that Coconut has in her mind, and representing how she sees Paprika, including she's attracted. Like one of them being the boy means, oh, if she was a boy, I could have a normal romance, right?
Right.
That's how it works, right?
Yeah,
and then
what if
the other part, but the actual physical attraction part is a girl, the one that's basically just pretty much trying to get her into bed.
Yeah, and then there was the one scene in her mind when they went to Salt's desk. And she opened the drawer.
It's just a pair of nail clippers, and they just kind of hold on a pair of nail clippers. And a lot of people there's a lot of people are going to just not
understand what that means.
What does that mean, you may ask? Well, here's the thing.
Fingernails will cut.
Yeah, lesbians don't like to have long fingernails because they don't want to hurt their partner. So cutting your nails short, because traditionally women tend to have somewhat long nails, because that's what societal beauty standards dictate.
Fashion thing sometimes too, if you want to paint them and have them long. Yeah, the whole thing.
So lesbians tend to cut them because they don't want to hurt their partner. There's been all sorts of, over the years I've seen all sorts of jokes, including, two girls meeting, and then, the girl's flustered, and then she immediately starts cutting her fingernails.
Or
stuff like that.
If you have long fingernails, except for one or two.
Yeah. And that's the whole thing. So yeah, that's supposed to be representative of that. And it's one of those things that's,
somewhat subtle, but
if you don't know that, you go, or why are you talking about this? Like it's 100% gay. It's just subtext at best. If you see that and go, oh, this is not subtext.
That's not subtext.
So that's the big thing right there. That's one of the big things. And towards the end, it becomes pretty clear that like Paprika is like Mimi's her best friend, but Coconut's her beloved, or something words along those lines. And it's like, yes. These are words you don't throw around about friends. That sort of thing. You don't throw around these kind of words for platonic stuff.
They're just gals being pals.
Playing gay chicken. That's the big thing. Coconut just kind of, by the end of it, accepting herself for who she is. And that's the big thing at the end. The only thing is like by the end, he's also just an utter mess, because he's got two Mimis, one being encouraging, one being all possessive and monstrous. And oh wait, did you think you could just you were able to transform magicals on your own, just taking that away, and then they get it back because actually Coconut can do it just because she's her daughter?
Because she's the daughter. And that's a thing.
Salt ready to shoot Mimi to stop all this, and then not succeeding because There's a whole bunch of stuff going on there at the end.
It's a
and then
mess.
Becomes a mess. Pure Illusion starts invading the real world because Mimi's like, basically she wants to create a world perfect for her little daughter.
Yep.
But, it's actually not perfect. Coconuts kind of just possessed and they're trying to save her. It's Yayaka and Paprika have to team up and they don't really like each other. And it's pretty clear Yayaka might have feelings for Coconut that never went anywhere because Coconut never reciprocated.
Yep.
Maybe. Depends on who you ask.
Oh boy, he ain't just shipping arguments at that point.
I noticed, out of curiosity, I noticed a lot of people said, screw it, Polly.
I mean, isn't that the best option?
Not always. Some people can't do it very well.
Yeah.
It's not for everyone.
Not for everyone.
But
this is fiction. We can say it is.
Yeah. There's a whole thing there. Also, Yayaka can also do magical transformation, but she doesn't for a long period of time.
Yeah. Then
she does it anyway. That's how she's able to help save Coconut. It's just weird. There's fight scenes and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
It's
a lot of fun. It's a visual spectacle. There's some really, really cool storylines. There's some things that they talk about and bring up that are really good and well done. But it is also, especially in the end, an absolute mess with plot lines that kind of end and don't go anywhere, or things that should have been explained that aren't.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot.
Yeah, so it's there's a lot going on that's like, it doesn't always work. It looks great. I mean, there's the whole weird Sentai Kaiju parody world where they meet the little dude, very small man. But they pilot robots and fight a monster. And
yep. There's references to other series all throughout. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
You'll recognize a bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
One thing on a visual part I found a little bit interesting, when Coconut and Paprika do their magical girl transformation, their colors change and basically swap colors.
Yeah.
Paprika's hair turns blue, Coconut's hair turns red, orange, whatever.
Yep.
And then their eyes basically invert hair as well.
Yeah. Oh, the hair gets ridiculously long.
Oh yeah, and ridiculous.
Coconut's got like, neck length hair, and then all of a sudden,
yep. Isn't that kind of somewhat stereotypical of magical girl
somewhat,
transformation?
sometimes
hair
depends.
Gets big, just massive hair.
I mean, like I know with Sailor Moon, their hair was already just long.
Yeah.
Like default, like Usagi's, her hair pretty much reaches the ground, even though it's tied up in buns and everything. It still reaches the ground.
Reaches the ground. Super freaking long.
That's just going around normal. So there's that whole thing. But yeah, it just becomes, and also on top of that, the music stuff is also often pretty great, particularly the OP. You can't skip the OP or the ED on this one.
Can't skip either. They're great. They're both great songs.
Yeah, so it's just a really fun one. There's a lot of subtle stuff. The problem is a lot of it's hard to kind of explain because it's like of what it is. You have to go into really in depth on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole, there's a whole bunch of stuff there. You basically, if it's the weird thing of, if you have the right real world knowledge, you're going to pick up on a lot of this stuff real quick. But if you don't, you're going to be lost real quick as well. And particularly with Coconut's growth as a person, particularly her confrontation of her own sexuality.
Yep. And
her eventual acceptance of it, although she initially starts off rejecting it, but eventually comes to accept it.
Yep.
So that's a whole thing in of its own right. It's very, and in some ways it's kind of subtle. It feels like almost like background, but it's not. It's central to the whole thing. But you just got to be able to pick up on it. Anyway, this was done by Studio 3 Hertz. Well, yeah, like, Princess Principal last time and so on. So yeah, we talked about them a couple times now. Coconut's voiced by Minami Takashi, who's done a lot.
A lot.
Several things that I recognize. Like Umu Musume. She's El Condor Paza. She's Lilith in Demon Girl Next Door. The ancestor.
Yep.
Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. She's Lukoa. So on and so forth. Paprika is voiced by M.A.O.
Mao.
Yeah, it's literally M.A.O.
Yep.
She's done a bit of Sentai stuff.
Yeah, she also apparently is in the reincarnated slime. She voices one of the main characters there.
Yeah. Sword Art Online.
Thyma and Promare.
School Live. She's in some mobile Gundam.
Yeah.
Magical Girl Sight. Oh, geez, that's the one I keep seeing. Magia Record.
Digimon, some Digimon stuff.
So she's done a lot.
Yeah.
And Ayaka Ohashi. That's the extent of things. I'm not going to go into the other ones too much.
There's a fair amount.
She's in Bang Dream, Umu Musume as well. She's Vodka in Umu Musume.
Okay.
Sound of Euphonium. She's going to be in the upcoming OVA. She's a new character in that. So I guess she's playing a first year. Another thing I want to mention also, Nunu, again, she kind of showed up and was all cutesy and looked like she was a big old threat, and then she just didn't do anything.
And she wasn't a threat at all and didn't do anything.
She just kind of just teamed up with Salt, and nothing happened. It was weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. That very much feels like there was a plot threads were dropped just to end the stupid thing.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. I would have loved to see it fleshed out more and such. And apparently it's not based on anything. It's an original.
Yeah, it is. I think that's pretty much...
yeah, we're grasping.
Yeah, again, we could probably go more in depth on a lot of this stuff, but that's one of the things. If we start going in depth on some of it, we're going to start going in depth on a lot of it, and that's going to lead to like a 2-3 hour episode.
Yeah, well, let's not do that.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. So, I guess we're coming to the end of this one. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, you could check out other episodes, past and future, on newtoweeaboo.libsyn.com. That's spelled L-B-S-Y-N. Subscribe to the RSS feed there. You can also subscribe via Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and Amazon Podcasts. Find us on there, search for New to Weeaboo, and subscribe to those services if you like. That is a thing you can do. You could also email us if you want to contact us, newtoweeaboo@gmail.com if you have questions or comments or anime recommendations or what have you. You can also follow us on Twitter at newtoweeaboo. I'm going to be trying to set up a bunch of accounts at other places because Twitter is currently sinking. So I'm going to be trying to set up accounts at other places, so hopefully you'll start hearing about those soon. I just got to get those going. Yeah, you can follow us there for now, and like and retweet, and again, you can contact us on there as well. We also have personal Twitters. I'm at Nemesis Prime 1, and he's at Alcatraz7 with a T and an underscore at the end. So I'm Transformers. He's Utao and Vocaloid, and now Synthviebus. Tetos,
yes.
And sometimes Miku. Yeah, that's it. Join us next time, the other half of Pride Month. We're going to be talking about a big one because it's also episode 100. We're going to be talking about Revolution Girl Utena.
We're finally getting to that.
The big one.
Classic.
Literally the big one. It's almost 40 episodes long.
Yeah, it's a lot to go through.
So yeah, we're going to get into that one. Hopefully it doesn't go bad. Hopefully,
because it's a lot that we got to get through.
It's a lot to go through. So, yep. Hope that goes well. We'll see you then. It'll be the end of June at that point. He'll be older.
I'll be older.
But wiser? Question mark.
Older?
Wiser?
Yeah, anything gonna happen in what? Less than 2 weeks?
Wiser part was questionable because he'll probably still be buying a bunch of Utao stuff.
when they show up, Teto doesn't exactly have the largest of merchandise
and Miku
base.
Stuff.
That has a large merchandise base, so he has to be selective.
See, he's still as foolish as I am in buying stuff.
I'm running out of room.
So yeah, so we'll see you next time. Hope you enjoy your June, and by that point also be summer.
Yep.
So yeah, hoping to have a fun time. Stay safe.
Yep.
They're getting real nasty out there sometimes.
Yes, they are.
So goodbye.